Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Book Club of Destiny, where anything can happen. Almost anything. As you know, we have been reading The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. It is based off of the Grimm's fairy tale of the same title. The story follows Crown Princess Annie. Well, she was the Crown Princess until her father died. And then her mother realized that a better use for her would be to send her off to the neighboring kingdom to marry her off to some prince, thus avoiding potential future war hazards. Not a bad idea, I suppose. That's the way things were done. But on the journey to the neighboring kingdom, Annie's lady-in-waiting, Celia, rises up against her. She's had this plan the whole time to overthrow Annie and steal her title and her identity. So there's this big uprising in the forest, and Annie barely makes it out alive. The only thing that she can think to do is to make it to that neighboring kingdom, go to the king and explain the whole situation, and then everything will be good. Unfortunately, Celia and her mutinous band have already arrived in the neighboring kingdom before Annie has even arrived. And Celia is already impersonating Annie and seems to be doing a pretty darn good job at it. Quickly changing tactics, Annie becomes a Goose Girl to the king. Hence the name, the Goose Girl. But Annie soon learns that this is more than just a case of stolen identity. Not only is her life at stake, but the lives of many of her kindred back in her own kingdom. The only thing left to be done is to reveal Celia as the traitor she is before it's too late. As I mentioned, this story is based off of a Grimm's fairy tale. I wasn't really familiar with the story. It wasn't one of those that I heard growing up or read in one of my fairy tale books. I just didn't know it. I did know, however, that The Goose Girl was a retelling of a fairy tale, and those are the sorts of books that I tend to really enjoy. And so when I first saw The Goose Girl on a shelf, like over 7 years ago, I thought, hey, I want to read this. But I never did. Until now. Overall, I was really pleased with the book. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5. And the reason why I didn't give it the full 5 is because there was just this little tiny bit towards the end where I started to kind of lose interest just slightly. And I think really what it was just me getting impatient for the end in a good way. Like, how is this going to resolve itself? But, so anyway, there was just this tiny moment where I was a little bit meh, or there was actually a moment where I was like, man, she's stupid. So, for that, I docked it half a point. Some things that I thought were really done well in the book, as far as writing goes, I really like Hale's use of simile. She does that really well. I thought that worked great. After reading a synopsis of the original fairy tale on Wikipedia, I can say that she did stick pretty close to the original. But one of the things that I think is great about it is that it's not copy-paste of the original. You'll have like the same backbone, so to speak, but Hale really makes it her own story. Something else I enjoyed was the dynamic characters, especially of our main character, Annie. I really enjoyed watching her hesitations at the beginning, feeling like she really wasn't good at being a princess. So, you know, those feelings of inadequacy that I think so many of us can relate to when we're put in these situations where we're just like, man, Yeah, so unqualified. So I like to see the change in her throughout the book from this insecure, trying my hardest sort of person, then just watching the struggle for survival, but then also having this growth and confidence that comes out of her in the end, where she becomes more of that princess that she always wanted to be. The story also has some fun, fantastical elements to it. Annie doesn't just tend geese, she can talk to the geese, literally. And so that's kind of fun, to have her be able to learn the language of birds and be able to talk to them. So really there's a little bit of self-discovery going on with her character, and those are always good, strong, dynamic characters that really make a story work. But even some of the smaller supporting characters were fun and memorable. One of the characters I enjoyed was Enna, which is why the next book I've decided to read is the companion book to Goose Girl, Enna Burning. And this is a story from Enna's perspective. Something to keep in mind is that since this story is based off of a Grimm's fairy tale, there are definitely some moments that are grim. Pun intended. So just keep in mind that you're going to have elements like being stabbed in the back, other various knife and sword wounds that are mentioned. There's mentioning of men who have been hung at the gallows and then their bodies are left to hang. And then the description of how that really kind of disturbs Annie. There's also a scene that is traumatizing for Annie as well, where she goes to a place where animals are disposed of, that animals that aren't used for human consumption. Anyway, so it mentions things like blood and fur and feathers, and so you'll have something like that. Just giving you all a warning, those sorts of things are in there. So yeah, overall, 4.5 out of 5. As I said before, the new book that we will be reading is Enna Burning. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where I will attempt to make food inspired by the Goose Girl. That should be pretty good, and hopefully tasty. So until next time, read a book, eat a cupcake, and love life.